I'm here with Marty as usual. How you doing, Marty?
I'm doing good, Chris. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well, thank you. Yeah, it's
Awesome.
a good day. So
Definitely.
it's always a good day to talk Mac for
Oh,
sure.
absolutely. We can
Better
talk
than
Mac
talking
any day.
smack, right?
That is true. No smack talking, only Mac talking.
Exactly. That's why it's MacChat.
hmm
Goodness. Well, we have a variety of things to chat with everyone about today, and I'm excited about that. And so I would like to start with a really cool free app that I discovered. Now, I do have to say, people may know I do have like silver hair, so I wasn't born yesterday. And the reason I'm saying that is because I have fond memories of a manual typewriter that weighed about as much as I did when I was a little kid. Have you ever used a manual typewriter, Marty?
I have.
Wow, cool. Well, you don't have
hmm
to be in the Silver Hair Club because I don't think you are. Um,
No.
but I used to type my assignments when I was a kid, and I learned to type when I was 9. My mom made me do it on a summer break. She's like, "You're going to learn to type." I'm like, oh. So I sat down with a cassette player, and this guy read typing lessons, and I typed away. Oh my word, it was just
Yeah, and you
crazy.
couldn't mute it or anything. It was just clank, 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 clank,
No.
clank.
Totally. Yeah. It was just, and the thing weighed about 50 pounds, and I didn't weigh a lot more than that when I was a little kid. So I had to type all my stuff. So, and then I graduated to the electric typewriter and then obviously computers a long while after that because I didn't have one for a while. So, but I say all that to say that there's a really cool app that will make these awesome typewriter sounds when I press the keys of my Mac keyboard, which is really fun. And
Yeah, it's like old school, but new school. It's like
I
old school,
know.
but not really.
Yeah, it's really great. And if you go looking for it in the App Store, it's has an odd spelling. I believe this is 2 words. It is Clykey. So it's like clicky, but it's
hmm
Clykey. And it's really awesome because after you download it, it immediately pops you into the settings. It is voiceover accessible. Woohoo!
Wow, look at that. Something so old is actually,
So I
well,
know.
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure it's accidentally accessible, but that's okay. We'll take it.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
so I installed it. Now, truth be told, I was demonstrating to one of my students
Mm.
how to go to the App Store and look for an app. So
hmm
we discovered, that the search feature is the best, and like rather than going through all those different categories and things, I think it's just kind of a confusing place to be. But anyway, I don't download a whole ton of apps for my Mac, but so anyway, I demonstrated and I found somehow I was searching for keyboard. I don't remember really quite how it all turned around, but I found this app because I'm addicted to keyboards. And so
hmm
anyway, oh, I know. I was looking for that keyboard app with all the shortcuts, Keyboard Maestro. I was going to show my student how to get that. But anyways, I found Clicky instead. So I
hmm
installed Clicky. I showed the student how to do that, using my computer. And then we went through all the fun sounds because you can click on a sound and you can play it and see if you like it. I mean, they have ridiculous things like drums and, they have stupid things that you wouldn't end up using, but they
Why would
do.
you have drums like in a keyboard
I
app?
no
That's
idea.
kind
I
of
don't know.
weird.
If you want to play the drums while you're typing, I guess you could do two things at once. I have
Drum
no clue.
solo.
Drum solo while I type. Okay.
hmm
So it was just really funny. And so I found all these cool manual typewriter sounds. And then the best part ever is that when you push the enter key, you hear the ding and then you hear the carriage return. It's so
Oh my
cool.
gosh. Isn't there like a metal bar that you have to like swipe or something?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because it
And
got to one
so
end and it has to go back to the
it
other. So you
does.
have to,
And you hear it travel back. It's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
But does it do it on its own or do you have to use that bar?
Oh, no, no, no. It's just, you just push the enter key on the Mac and it makes that sound
No, I
of
mean, oh,
the,
like an original
oh,
one.
an original?
Yeah. Like if you
Um,
were typing on an actual old school
yeah.
typewriter,
Uh-huh.
once the like roll thing gets to one end, don't you
Right.
have to hit that little bar and then push and like swipes back to the other end so you're at the
Yeah.
beginning of the line again?
Yeah, there was actually like a piece, not lever, but I guess, yeah, you'd have to just take it and give it a shove and yeah, it went
Hmm.
back.
All right.
Yeah, so it's really, really fun and it runs in the background. And then
hmm
I learned something new. How do
Mm.
you get to settings? I mean, this is maybe a duh for most people, but if you have an app like that that runs in the background, how do you get to its settings? Because when I open the app, I mean, I'd have to reopen it. You know what I mean? So like, how do I get back to it? So I discovered that in my status bar with VOMM, I can go and launch the app again, from the menu bar, and I get into its settings. It's really cool.
Do you want it to always be running in the background?
Maybe
Mm.
but it could just be in your startup items if you always want to hear it. But if you
Hmm.
don't want to always hear it, you can remove it from the startup items, and then you don't have to worry, about if you're, say, recording or you're in a
Yeah.
room where you don't want people to hear you clicking away and all that sort of thing. So,
Well, it's cool that it has those options to be able to kind of do what you want with it.
yeah, it's really great. You can adjust all the sounds and everything. And then I paid for $10 for a lifetime upgrade of whatever else happens with it, which I'm
Did you
not
get a
sure.
bigger drum set when you did that?
No, I did not.
Oh, I think you got gypped.
Bummer. I know. Could have had cymbals and
Yeah.
hi-hats and everything else.
Hmm.
Little wood blocks. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Um,
Little clanker box, a cowbell,
yeah. Oh, yeah. That
more
would be
bell, more
truly annoying.
cowbell.
Truly annoying. Yeah, so Clykey, Clykey, and yeah, I just thought it was great. So if anyone wants a throwback from like 40 years ago, just download Clykey. So
Cool. Fun, fun.
yeah, for sure. Well, hey, the big news, of course, this past week was the rollout of the Chat GPT-5.
Yep.
And so I'm just kind of wondering if you are using that and what's happening over there with you in chat.
Yeah, I definitely am using it now. I'm using an app called MacGPT, which is basically sits in your dock, or at least that's where I have it. I suppose if you didn't want it in the dock, you could launch it from your applications window or whatever you want to do. But I didn't really do anything. It just loaded itself up after the event ended because there was a keynote last week, I believe on Tuesday or Wednesday. I can't remember exactly which
Hmm.
day, but it was just not longer than a week ago, or
Right.
maybe beginning of this week, something like that. Not,
Hmm.
it was very, very recent.
Hmm.
Well, after the announcement, I went and opened up MacGPT, and there it was. The first thing I saw was you are now running on ChatGPT 5. So I've been playing around with it, and it's pretty cool. It's fast, To be honest, I still use the free version. I haven't really stepped up to the $20 or definitely not the $200 version because for my needs, I haven't really felt like I need to pay yet. It does everything I needed to do with the freemium version still.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, but I mean, it works great. I mean, you can search stuff, you can build stuff. It's really fast. And
Hmm.
let's say you have like a document that you're working on, you're done prompting it, and then you want to save it. You used to be able to, or you used to have to copy and paste it into your editor, like a text editor, whichever one you would be using. But now you can tell it when you're done and you're happy with how it is to save it as a Word document or save it as a PDF or whatever the
Hmm.
case may be. And then it basically makes a little icon and you click that and it downloads it in whatever version you asked to be in, like a Word document or PDF or whatever into your downloads folder. And then you can just grab that and do what you want to do with it. So that's kind of
Sure.
cool. That's a newer thing, I think.
That's great. Yeah. I have
Mm.
it stuff things in my downloads folder all the time. So
Yeah, definitely.
that's great. Yeah. So I don't remember if I've used it since the version 5 rolled out, but I was going to talk about some of the things that I use it for. I
Yeah.
use it several times a week, maybe not every day, but I do like the fact that because I do have, and I don't know that this matters, I'm due pay for the plus $20 a month subscription, is that I have the app on my phone. So if I wanted to refer to something, I don't have my computer with me, then I can always just go to the phone and there's the history. So
I think it does that in the free version because when I open up my chat GPT on my
mhm,
phone, all my history is there.
that's great. And I
Hmm.
like having it in both places in case you need to access it.
Oh, yeah,
It's
definitely.
just really cool. So these are the things that I use it for. I've had it describe images before.
Hmm.
I've had it do a lot of translation work, and I give it to the people and they seem pretty happy with it, either Spanish or Vietnamese. And I don't really know if it's absolutely correct, but it's better than what I presently had, which was nothing. So I'm like,
Yeah. Hmm.
oh, we'll work on that. And then I've had it, well, oh, back on the describe images. So I'm doing some work with the Monarch, the big braille display that can that can show you braille graphics, tactile
Oh yeah,
graphics.
that thing was cool.
And it is really cool. And I'm creating a project, and I wanted to be able to describe the Eiffel Tower to
Hmm.
somebody who's blind, who's never, seen it, but they're examining the tactile graphic, and they need to know, what is this what does this look like in real life, and how do I relate the parts of the tactile graphic to the
Hmm.
actual, thing itself. And so it did a really nice job of describing, and I told it, in great detail to someone who's never seen before, describe the Eiffel Tower to me. So it did a nice job. And I do confirm it when you know, the stakes are higher, like I'm going to present this to other people, or I want to make sure it's accurate, then I make sure to check things out with Ira or another visual assistant. So
Yeah.
I also have made a logo for a new website that I'm going to be developing.
Wow.
And
Tell me about that experience. Making a
oh,
logo in
yeah.
ChatGPT. That's
Yeah.
interesting. That must be
Yeah.
under the $20 thing. Although I never tried to see if it was in the free version or the $20 version, but
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go over those differences in a minute so we can
okay.
all hear
Cool.
what they are. So, with that, I had an idea of what I wanted. So, my eventual website that just has one lonely little link on it, but hey, you have to start somewhere,
Hmm.
is called learningyourmac.com. So, I'm going to be developing some tutorials. So, I wanted a logo up there. So, I explained that my audience is made up of Mac users who are blind or visually impaired. We're going to be using voiceover, maybe magnification, and I'd like an app designed that keeps this in mind. And also, I wanted learning LYM at the top, so that would be the initials, and then underneath it, Braille dots. And then underneath the logo, whatever that turns out to be, I would like learning your Mac in, capital letters.
Hmm.
So what it did was it generated a logo, which is really kind of cool. And I had it describe the logo to me, which was fun, describe its own handiwork. So,
Yeah.
so
Hmm.
there was a magnifying glass with sound waves coming out of it.
Wow.
And then there were braille dots. We'll get to that in a moment underneath the LIM. And then, of course, it had the phrase, the actual website underneath it. So you do need to check these things with the sighted people because it screwed up on the braille dots. So they weren't quite accurate. So I had someone from Ira go into, I think it was Paint on their Windows program, and fix the dots so that it actually did have the dot representations for L, Y, M properly underneath the letters
Wow.
themselves. But honestly, it did a really good job at communicated, because I don't want to just have things for voiceover. I maybe have someone contribute content for low vision, because I think it's
Hmm.
really important. But also it's communicating, hey, we're using voiceover, we're listening to the computer, we're looking at it, and we're also maybe using Braille if we hook up a Braille display. So,
So
so it
once the
was,
graphic
yeah,
was all done, it just downloads into
yeah,
your
downloads.
downloads folder and then you can just use it for whatever.
Yep. I just hit the download button and it goes immediately into the downloads folder. And then, of course, this is off topic, but I did put it, oh, and I did specify a line drawing because I wanted to feel it on the Monarch. So I wanted to feel it on that braille display that would display the graphics, so then I could
Yeah.
actually feel. So it was cool. Within, 2 minutes of finishing the graphic creation, the logo creation, I was then feeling it on the braille display. It was so cool.
Yeah.
Technology is awesome. So
It
yeah,
is.
but we did have to check, the accuracy. I've also had it make line drawings of the iPhone home screen icons so I could feel what those are like. And I'm going to use that for a project.
Mm.
Just directions on how to do things, how do you, just making it up, like how do you highlight a column in numbers, or, like You just
Yeah.
ask it questions like that.
Hmm.
And so those are the things that I'm, that I'm using it for. And I just use the website. I don't have the Mac GPT installed yet, but I should take that for a spin to see how it differs from the actual website itself.
I don't really think it
Hmm.
differs. I
Mm.
don't think it really differs, to be honest with you, because when I open it up, it's kind of just like the web right there. So
Yeah.
the real benefit is not having to open up a browser, go to the web, and do all that. It's just on
Hmm.
your dock, click it, opens, do what you need to do. And if you're bouncing back and forth, it's so much easier because it
Hmm.
recognizes it as an app instead of like a website, you know?
I see. Sure. Yeah, that could be an advantage. I actually saved the website to my dock. So it kind of makes
It'd
me
be
think
interesting
it's
to compare those two and
Mhm.
see what the difference is.
Right. Definitely. Yeah.
Another thing I heard about the $20 version is that
Hmm.
it does now load up different, what they call chats
Hmm.
to do different things. So
Uh-huh.
one would be for writing, for example, but then you may have a different one for coding or for making a logo or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. Well, I think that'll be included when I next describe the differences between all these three different accounts. You've got the free, the plus for $20, and then the pro for the $200 a month. So,
I would
and
just say go on YouTube for the pro version. I wouldn't pay the
yeah.
$200. Just see what anybody
No,
else says about it.
exactly right. But at least I'll describe the free and the plus because I think that's what most people are going to be
Yeah,
wondering about.
I agree.
So some of the stuff I don't exactly know what I'm saying, but I think it'll it'll be okay. So with the free version, you have access to Chat GPT-5, and these are things that notes I just copy down from the website,
Hmm.
and real-time data from the web with search, limited access to file access, image creation, data analysis, and voice mode. So, in this limited access thing, they never tell you what that exactly means. It's not like
Hmm.
so many times you can use something. The only thing I did sort of glean when I was doing my research is that when there's higher demand or more server busyness, that maybe the free tier is kind of bumped down the road in terms of priority. So,
Yeah.
and also with the free account, you get code edits with the Mac OS desktop app, which is cool. And you
Code
can,
edit, you said?
it says code edits. So I guess there
That
must
must be some
be
sort of a coding type
coding
of a
thing.
program. It's one of
Yeah,
the,
that's,
you know, one
hmm
it does HTML and all the other codings. You know, if you want to write in HTML or Markdown
right.
or whatever else
hmm
you want to do.
But
So,
it seems like that's available in the desktop app. So I think that would
wow.
be what you're using. So there's that ability to do that with the free account. And apparently you can also use custom GPTs. So that's cool with the free version.
Yeah, definitely. The big thing too that I'm hearing is that people are building their own,
Mhm.
resource database or
Yep.
whatever content that
Mhm.
you want to be able to search up in GPT or Chat GPT, and it runs locally on your
Mhm.
machine. So it's super duper fast and it doesn't need internet. I mean, unless you're putting new stuff in there or whatever.
Right. Mhm.
But that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah. That's really neat. Yeah, I agree. I know I'll have to explore that. So now with the Plus account, that's the $20 a month, you have extended access to, and basically these are the same things that GPT-5. There's extended access, but messages, file uploads, image generation, and data analysis. So I guess you're kind of maybe moved up the food chain in terms of when things are busy, you get extra access to these things. And
Hmm.
so then there's also, this was not included in the free, I don't think, standard and advanced mode with video and screen sharing. So I'm not sure what that means, but it's included in this $20 a month. You have access to the Chat GPT-5 agent. You can create and use projects, tasks, and custom GPTs. You have limited access to, now this is something different, Sora video
Hmm.
generation.
Hmm.
And you also have some opportunities to try new features. And I was going to tell you what this Sora thing is. Just finding it
Yeah,
here.
is that like it edits your video for you?
It says here video generation. So text, image, and video inputs. So if you're
Hmm.
inputting text, images, and video, then to generate a video output.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'd like to know more about what that would do, but it sounds kind of fascinating. But that's something that's definitely included in the $20 a month thing in case.
Cool.
Yeah. So, knowing more about Sora would be good.
We can research that and then come
Yeah.
back next time and tell
Next
people,
time.
yeah, I mean, the great thing about this technology is it changes every 5 minutes, like the weather, So
Yeah.
what we talked about today will be obsolete by the next time,
Exactly right. Which means
So
we always have content, right?
definitely, because there's always going to be something new. So
Exactly. Hey, Marty, we're going to break away for just a little bit and listen to an interview that I just did recently with Allison Sheridan. Allison is a longtime podcaster. She has the longest running Apple centric podcast, Nosilla Cast, which is Allison backwards is Nosilla, which is fun. And she really does a wonderful job podcasting as well with some other shows that she does. But she is a longtime contributor to MacStock, which is an awesome Mac users group. And this event is held every year outside of Chicago. I had the honor and privilege to attend this year and to present. And so I wanted to ask Allison about MacStock, how it got started, a little bit of history, what she enjoys presenting there, what she's learned there, and just what a wonderful time you can have there. And also what someone who is new to MacStock, say that you want to go next year, what you can expect. So without further ado, here is my interview with Allison.
Hey, Chris, good to hear from you again. It was great to see you out in the Chicago area for MacStock.
Thank you. I loved it. It was great. I'm going to go again. I already planned on going again before it started. So I only know what MacStock is. Obviously I've been there this one time, but I did hear about it on the Mac Geek Gab show. But before that, I didn't know really what it was. And then I was talking with you a fair amount about it. And so I wondered, for our listeners who have no idea what MacStock is, could you give us like that, 30-second elevator pitch about what MacStock is?
I think the best way to describe it is to talk about its roots a little bit. When Macworld ended, Barry Falk, who loved going to MacStock for the community of people that he knew there, he really missed his community, his people. It was Macworld was a place you could go where nobody judged you for being all nerdy about your Apple stuff. So he asked his wife, who in a moment of craziness said yes, can I invite everybody to a barbecue at my house? And by everybody, he meant everybody, anybody who liked the Mac, and Apple products. Can they just come to our house? So they put out this invitation and they got like 150 people to fly into the Chicago area to go to a barbecue at Barry's house. And a gentleman named Mike Potter, a friend of his, said, hey, if you're going to have all these Apple people here, why don't we do a conference too? So that's who started MacStock. And the genesis of it was the community. And what it turned into was the community and then learning. And so it's a small conference. It's under 200 people, but it's focused on learning while getting to talk to each other, getting to know each other. It's the most inclusive thing I've ever been to. I mean, everybody's there. Everybody's represented is the way I would put it. And so there's sessions, but they're all in the same room. So navigation, I think, is a lot easier. And I'd have to get your perspective on whether that's a true statement or not. But you're not constantly going to different tracks and going, well, am I a beginner or intermediate, advanced? Am I doing video or am I doing audio or am I doing programming or, what is it I want to learn? You're not having to worry about that. You go to the sessions and then you got a full half hour between each one to just talk to people. That's a lot longer than the elevator should ride.
It's okay. Maybe it was a tall building. That's just fine. That's great. That's a really awesome summary because I think it's important to know how things started to give you a perspective. So how did you start attending MacStock and what have you most enjoyed presenting there?
Well, Barry told us about the fact that Bobby Ann said he could have everyone over for a barbecue, and we signed up immediately. Just like, sure, we'll fly to Chicago to have a barbecue at your house. We would do that.
Wow.
And Barry's one of the greatest guys. And anyway, so we signed up for that immediately. So we've been going since the very first one. I think it was the second or third one. Our grandson was going to be born on the exact date of MacStock.
Oh my.
So the first people we told that our daughter was pregnant was Barry and Mike. Like before we told our friends and family, we told Barry and Mike because I knew I wasn't going to be able to go. And I had, of course, committed to present. And so I've been going every time that I could. You know, there's obviously a lot of stumbles during COVID, but every time I can possibly go. I think that probably my favorite presentation that I gave was when, in a terribly mean thing to do to Mike Potter, 2 weeks before the show, I changed my topic. And I blame Chuck Joyner of Mac Voices because he had me on the show to talk about what I was going to be presenting. And I don't even remember what I was going to be presenting. But as I talked about it, I was just drippy on the topic. You know, you could tell it was not blowing my dress up. I was not excited about this topic. But then I started talking about how I was mind mapping it and how much fun I was having. I was like color coding and I was making all these things. And Chuck goes, well, it sounds like you're a lot more excited about mind mapping than you are about your topic. Oh my gosh, you're right. I should change my topic to mind mapping. And I got to tell you, when I did that presentation at the time, it was on iThoughts, which unfortunately is defunct now, but I'm still wild about mind mapping. And I got up there and I rocked it. I mean, I was on fire because I love to mind map things. And so that was probably one of my favorite ones.
That's really cool. That is great because anything that people need to know more about, you have maybe any time from 45 minutes to an hour and a half to present, right?
Yeah, they have two different kinds of sessions. They have workshops that are 90 minutes long and then just regular presentations that are 45. So if you're really teaching step by step and you want to have questions and people are kind of going along with what you're teaching, then a workshop is the way to go. Like this year for the workshop, I did a deep dive into how to edit photos in Apple Photos. And this was like opening every single menu, doing every single operation. And that's not the kind of thing you could knock off in 45 minutes. So that's kind of a little bit different. My 45 minute one was more of a rah-rah speech, I would say. I was the closer of the event where I talked about what kinds of things we could all take away from what we'd heard and wrapped it up in a bow. And that kind of worked well too. I was a little worried about that one because I like the meaty ones more, but it still worked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's nice to tie things up and think about all that you've learned, and every learner can gain something no matter what level they are and what their level of experience, right, at MacStock.
Yes, exactly. No matter how much you know, there's somebody who knows more than you do. And no matter how little you know, there's somebody who knows less than you do. So I called it the circle of happiness, how we all got to help each other learn.
That's really great. That's awesome. So what have been some of your favorite presentations or topics that you've really enjoyed over the years, or what's been immediately applicable, that you can go home and use that information?
Well, of course, anything I talked about, and of course, your topic, right?
Well, thank you.
Remember, I've been doing a Mac podcast longer than anybody on earth. At 20 years, when I hit 20 years, I had the longest continuously running Apple podcast. And so my level of expertise is pretty stinking high. And I think on average, most of the presentations are maybe a little too easy for me, but I learned something actually from Dave Hamilton about learning from people who know less than you. There's always something you're still going to learn. When he goes to the podcast, I forget, podcast movement, that's what it's called. And he goes to the beginner sessions, even though he's been podcasting now for 20 years. And he does that because you get set in your ways. You think you know everything and then you realize things have changed and there's a new way to do things. So I do learn from a little bit from each of the presentations, but I also really like the super nerdy ones. There's a gentleman named Brett Terpstra whose brain is on a whole nother level than the rest of any human I've ever met. I mean, he is just in a different class of person. And he did a class years ago on Markdown. And I always remember things he taught from that on learning to write in Markdown. Kelly Guimont did one on Text Expander one year that just really opened my eyes to how much I wasn't using in Text Expander, how much more I could do. She was working for the company at the time, but she was able to expose these things like, I'd never even clicked that button. Why didn't I notice that? And then this year, one of the ones that really excited me was Mike Burke. Man, this guy took a big swing. Did you attend Mike Burke's, Chris?
I believe so.
So this guy in 90 minutes had us install 4 different applications, a plug into an application. We were automating things. I mean, it was crazy. I managed to keep up, but just barely. But one of the things he did in this talk was talking about when you set up a new project, there's usually a set of folders that you need and documents that you need in every project that you do. And he worked on how to automate that so that with just running a script from Keyboard Maestro, which is accessible, of course, he was able to automate setting up this new project. And the example he used was, you're going to go to MacStock next year. What are you going to need? Well, you're going to need a folder for your session notes. In that, you're going to need a template for those session notes. You're going to need a folder for all of your travel documents. And he did this automation. And I was so excited about it that I did the same thing for my Screencast Online video projects. So I just used it. And it was one of those things where I think I spent 6 or 8 hours creating the automation, another good hour writing it up as a topic for the podcast. And it saves me like maybe 38 seconds every 6 weeks.
Oh dear.
But sometimes it's the joy of automating something. You know,
Wow.
I spent, man, probably 20 hours over the course of 3 weeks trying to figure out how to write an automated process to OCR PDFs. And I succeeded 5 separate times, but I kept finding other ways to do the exact same thing. And I just did it over and over again. I descended into madness. So,
Wow.
but that's just me.
That is something, spending all that time for the joy of automating something to save yourself seconds.
Yeah,
That's real commitment
when you
to
do
it.
you're honing those skills. You know,
Sure.
you're exercising that part of your brain that's looking for, what can I do better? And, you know, when I got to the end of it, I had more things I wanted to automate. That it was like, well, I could also have it do this. It should open this application and save a file and everything. So I may even spend more time on it. I could probably break like 45 seconds if I really worked on it a couple more days.
Wow. That's really something.
Christian Sia also talked at the conference about symmetric versus asymmetric public key cryptography. And that's a mouthful of marbles right there. But I've learned a lot about cryptography over the years, about how we have this handshake of different secrets and your public and private key. And I've had it explained to me at least 150 times. And she said a couple of things in hers that really helped solidify how, what she was talking about was passkeys, how the way passkeys are encrypted is different than when you're sharing a secret 2 directions. And I know that doesn't help anybody to understand it, but that was like this topic that I've heard about so many times, a penny dropped. And that's kind of what you get when you're at MacStock.
Mm-hmm. That's great. That's great. Well, it's neat to hear you talk about the things that were really helpful for you. And then to think about, just even as Dave, was thinking about like what helps the beginners, because sometimes that helps us understand exactly where we've come with our knowledge and also how we can help other people when we're teaching them or working with them. So that's great.
Yeah. And I would say most of the sessions, maybe I should ask you that. Do you think most of the sessions are appropriate for beginners, or do you think it requires maybe more advanced users for most of them?
I would say maybe there's half. Maybe it's half and half. I don't know.
Yeah. And if you get immersed in it, that's how you start learning more, when you get things that kind of push the envelope of what you already know.
Right. Yes, definitely. I think knowing ahead of time what, we might be installing or doing, or how much knowledge we need to have, like what are the prereqs for this, talk would be really helpful. And so I feel like I didn't always know that, but I was there for the complete, immersion experience, and on the rare chance that I missed one because I was exhausted because, it's just a lot of information. It was really, really, really good. Yeah.
Yeah. You said one of the things you wanted me to talk about was what's helpful for someone to know who's planning on going to MacStock for the first time.
Right.
And
exactly.
one of the things I wrote down in my notes to say was to be ready for excess stimulation, but nobody minds if you take breaks.
Right.
So just going, I'm not going to go to this one. I'm fine. Or maybe I'm going to do the hallway track for this session, because the hallway track is where you learn a lot of stuff. You just talk to people. And I'm curious, from your perspective, did you meet a lot of people that were friendly and helpful?
Oh man, everybody was friendly and helpful. That's why I wanted to come back even before it started, because I met some people the night before, and I got to just, just chat with people, and they were easy to talk to. And I even got to meet some of my podcasters that I love. And it was just fantastic. So that is just a real true benefit of going.
Yeah, one thing I would say is that you were the best dressed presenter. But I'm gonna pull back the curtain here on Chris a little bit. She asked me about the dress code, and she was going to go shopping for some new clothes, and I said every single person there is going to be in a nerd T-shirt. They're going to have Dungeons and Dragons on their T-shirts. That's what I'm talking about here. You don't need to dress up for this. And then she shows up in this beautiful dress, and she looked fantastic, and we all look like a bunch of hobos up there. But it's a very relaxed, very casual group. I hugged more people in that 3 days than I've hugged in the last 2 years. Now, I do know a lot of people as part of it is by now, but there's a lot of love in the room. I know that sounds really, I don't know, drippy and goofy, but it is. It's a loving environment of inclusive people who just, everybody's welcome. It's a really emotional place to me. Chris, for you though, what was it like? How did you end up getting to do a presentation at MacStock, and how did that work for you?
Well, I emailed someone named Allison, and I said, "Hey, Allison, can you tell me, is this just for developers? Because I've been hearing about MacStock, and obviously I really didn't know much." And you wrote back to me and said, "Oh, no, it's anybody can come. It's just this great place." And so, and then I think maybe you might have spoken to Mike, but somehow Mike was like, "Well, I wonder if, Chris would come and speak." And so I thought, wow, okay. So I thought, what would I talk about? And so then I got thinking about the theme, which was sharing. And so I thought, well, how about sharing accessibly? Because there are wonderful tools in Remote Incident Manager, which allows me to remote into someone's computer, whether they have a PC or a Mac, and I can be on either one of those platforms. But obviously, we're focusing on Mac here. And then also the Scribe for Documents, which is a document remediation service that can be automated. You don't have to have a human involved, but you can make your documents accessible, and then your meeting handouts accessible. So I thought I would just present accessibility to the folks there from a perspective of, this is what I experienced, but this is how you can help. And this is how you can understand kind of what we're dealing with here. And if you ever have to make your documents accessible, or you want a remote option, that is great. So I thought that it would be a good topic, because I had a feeling that perhaps other people may not be talking about accessibility, and I wanted to wave that banner. So I submitted a speaking proposal in early March, or when was it? No, it was might have been mid-February. And then by the end of March, I got word that I was accepted. I was so, so excited. I got emails from Mike Potter, and it was just really great to think about presenting at this conference that I had never been to, and present on a topic that I was pretty sure that it would have components that people weren't familiar with. So I wanted to bring that knowledge.
I have to say, one of the things that excited me about the topic was that it was talking not about, I'm this poor blind person, I need help, you got to do accessibility for me. What you were demonstrating was how you help other people. And because of the accessibility of the tools that you're using, you're able to give tech support to people. And that was a different vibe altogether. And I really liked that angle of it.
That's great. Thank you. I appreciate that, because it is definitely a part of my world. And it's the first time, if we're thinking about Mac, that in the last 2 years, we've been able to be tech support folks for people who are using a Mac. And also, I just really wanted to have people understand, like you say, not this poor blind person, no, make things accessible, but the people who own the company are blind and they're making things accessible. They're not waiting around until something happens. They're making things happen. And I also wanted to give people tools that they could go and use if they want to use the document remediation service, if they want to make their meeting handouts accessible. It was tools they could learn. And one of the best things, I got compliments from folks that came up and said, "Hey, we loved your presentation. By the way, I'm never going to grumble again about making a website accessible." I loved it. Two separate people gave me that wonderful feedback. And I'm like, oh, that's great, because until you hear voiceover talking, until you see someone traveling on a website and this is what they hear and this is what they need to hear, when you know how important that is, then it's just fantastic. Then you know why you need to put headings in. Then you know why you need alt text. You know why you need to do things because you hear it and see it in action. And that's what you and I did with the video that we worked very hard on to create and make happen.
Yeah, I think that worked really well. Chris asked me, well, do you think I could do a live demo of this during the show? And I immediately screamed, no!
That's what I thought.
Yeah, you had an inkling that's how it was going to work out. But it was real interesting to do the video ahead of time, and I'm really glad we did because it was tricky to do. But we were able to have Chris control my Mac and teach me how to do something on my Mac, and I think it came off very playful. It was a lot of work, but I think it worked really well for people to be able to see it and feel it, the way it came off. So I think it was well worth it.
It was. There is nothing like a demo to really hit home what you're trying to say. You can explain something in words. You can say what you do, but when people see it and hear it, I think it was just really a home run. So I was very excited about how that came off, and people just really enjoyed it. So it was well worth the investment in time.
I think so. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot trying to do it.
That's great. And you were able to help some other people with the knowledge that you gained because you put it on your blog, and then you talked to folks, I think, at Numa Solutions or whatnot. About,
made sure they knew about it. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So how was it for you navigating the show?
Yeah, so I found that I really liked the fact that things were in the same room. I got to learn in my way and usually sat in roughly the same spot. I always just put my really colorful cat patterned handbags and things down, and people knew that's where Chris was. So that worked really well. But yeah, it did work that it was in the same place. And from past years, I guess it didn't used to be in the hotel. Like you had to go to a different place than where you were staying to go to the conference. Yeah,
it was a lot more complicated to move around and get in and out of things. So
yeah, so when I told a couple other people who are blind who presented several years ago, I told them, hey, it's all under the same roof now. Oh, wow, that's great. And more incentive, for them to come and attend again.
Right.
So yeah, I found the only challenge I found was I wasn't ready for all those QR codes and things. So it'd be cool if they were available ahead of time or somehow I plugged in a little bit more. But there were a lot of QR codes to get handouts, to get information, and to get downloads and all that sort of thing.
That's a really good point. I'd never seen that done before. Somebody early on said, oh, I'll give you a QR code for my slides. And then from then on, everybody was rushing into their slides to create QR codes. So it was sort of a snowball. I hadn't seen that at MacStock before. I'm not so big on reading other people's slides. So it didn't really, like I didn't copy down any of those QR codes except for Mike Burke so that I could get to his website and get to everything that he was teaching.
Right. Yeah. So I just really enjoyed absorbing all the things that I could take in and think about what I could do for later. Cause I do want to learn how to use Keyboard Maestro. So
yeah, it's a really, really cool app. And like I said, accessible from what I've been told.
So Allison, as we're wrapping up here, I'd love for people to know where they can find your work, your blog, and your podcasts, and anything else you'd like to tell us.
You can find all my work at podfeet.com, podfeet.com. That's my license plate too. People think I'm a podiatrist. It's a stupid name, but it's easy to spell and it's short, so it's got that going for it. But there you can find the Nosilla Cast, which is my Apple-centric podcast where I kind of sprinkle accessibility stuff in here and there, and I make sure to, as often as I can remember, sometimes I forget. I try to test my apps for accessibility first. And I'll let you know, like I can tell if something's not accessible, like if it just goes, yeah, there's nothing here. I can tell you that, but I can't tell you whether it's done really well. But anyway, I sprinkle that throughout my show. And I have a programming show there called Programming by Stealth that I do with Bart Bouchatz, and another one called Chit Chat Across the Pond, where I mostly talk to Adam Engst of Tidbits, but other people are guests in between visits by Adam.
That's great. You are busy.
Yeah, I am. I'm retired. Your audience wouldn't be interested in Screencasts Online since it's a video service, but I also create video tutorials for that service as well. So there's a lot of stuff going on. I don't feel retired, that's for sure.
People are often busy in retirement than they were when they were working. But I will say that screencasts, I have enjoyed some videos that were verbalized quite a lot, so that I could learn from them. So I wouldn't say they're all like a no-go for us, So I think there's some up there that could work for us.
Yeah, there's subtitles. So for those with hearing impairments, it's definitely an advantage, but it's pretty focused on the visual, I'm afraid.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, thank you so much for meeting with us. I really appreciate it. It's great to hear all your perspectives, all the history and the involvement that you've had with MacStock and what you've contributed. And I think we'll probably have some takers for next year. So look forward to that.
Well, cool. That's awesome. Well, it was fun to see you there, Chris, and it's fun to get to talk to you again here.
Thank you so much, Allison. There's something new. I wonder what's on Marty's doorstep, because you're kind of withholding here on what it is. And I said, don't tell me. I want to be surprised. What's on your doorstep, Marty?
I got the new Mac Mini M4 version.
You did?
I did.
Oh, man, that's so cool.
Yeah. It's actually pretty awesome, I must say. I mean, it's just so ridiculously fast. And I just got the base model. So it's 256, on the hard drive, M4 processor, and 16 gigs of RAM. And it was the base model. I didn't upgrade anything because I wanted to see what the base model was going to be like. And it was kind of a spontaneous purchase, to be honest with you. So I got it, and mostly it's amazing. And I really, really like the new design because you don't really think about this, but it's awesome to have ports in the front.
Yes.
So if you want to plug in an external hard drive or you want to plug in any other external devices, it's very easy to do. They're just right in the front, and it's super easy. It is so fast. It's ridiculous. I mean, you can do anything on it and it will not hesitate. I mean, obviously, I'm not rendering, 20 hours of movie quality video with special effects and CGI and all of that stuff.
Right.
I'm doing more audio stuff and, web stuff and day-to-day stuff. And it screams. It's so fast.
That's so cool.
So I really, really like it a lot. I would say this is not like a killer, it's not, I'm not going to get it because of this, but the power button is on the bottom, which is weird. I don't know why they put it on the bottom. I couldn't figure that out. So if you ever turn off your computer, then you actually have to almost lift up the computer so that you can reach the button on the bottom, the power button. Obviously, you don't need it for turning it off because you can turn it off through the GUI,
Sure.
But no, it's fast. It's awesome. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
The only other thing I would say that I did do is I bought a 1 terabyte external, like Thunderbolt USB-C drive, just for making sure that all of the documents and images and backups and all that stuff go to that drive because I'll have plenty of space on there. And then I also have cloud storage.
Sure.
And then it should be not that difficult to manage a 256 internal hard drive as long as you just, are diligent about not letting it get too filled up.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's great. I love it. It's super awesome.
That's exciting. That is really great. Did you have an M something before in the Mac Mini?
Yeah, well, the original one, I've had 3 now. So the original one I got when they immediately announced that the M1 processors were coming out. So at that time, I picked up the M1 Mac Mini and I upgraded it because at the time it only came with, I believe, 256 on the hard drive, on the SSD, and then it only had 8 gigs of RAM. So one of the things they did do across the entire Mac line was update the minimum hard drive to minimum RAM to 15 or to 16 gigs of RAM,
right.
which is great.
Mm-hmm.
So when I had gotten this Mac Mini originally, the very first one, the M1, it was the M1 processor. I upped the hard drive to 1 terabyte and put 16 gigs of RAM in it.
Sure.
And the thing screams. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's still not slowing down for anything. I mean, of course, it may not do things quite as fast, but it's pretty incredible still. I mean, they have these M1 MacBook Airs that are still being sold at Best Buy or at Costco. And you see them between, like $550 and $650, depending on the day. But that's incredible to me.
I know.
I mean, anyone who's not a huge computer user but wants to do the day-to-day stuff, it's a great machine. It's not going to slow down for anything,
It's great.
The only thing I would say is that those only have 8 gigs of RAM still. That's maybe the only downfall, but I do feel like if you're a day-to-day computer user doing email and doing browsing the web and all the day-to-day basic things, it's still plenty of power, it's still great. So I really love it a lot. It's really great.
That's great.
I would recommend it to anybody, who's looking for a machine. It's such a great buy for the price.
Sure.
So,
and you didn't have any trouble getting all your data over and your programs and all that?
Not at all, because I will say the one thing I did have was an actual Thunderbolt data cable, which if you're going to be moving data around, especially from one computer to another, doing backups and stuff, it's definitely a great thing to have in your, kit of things to run external stuff, whether for transferring data or anything like that. So I have one of those. And, the experience was totally different booting it up. Right when you boot it up, you can now have voiceover turned on, and it literally walks you through any vision type things you may want to adjust before you even get to the desktop, which is great. I mean, it used to be you'd have to get it to the desktop and then go configure all of your accessibility settings. Well, you don't really have to do that anymore. You can do that right from the startup, and it's great. It works perfect, and it's awesome.
That is great. Awesome. Excellent.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So,
well, congratulations on your
thank you very much.
Mini.
I will keep you posted.
Yes, definitely. Well, it's good to chat about all of this, a good variety between an app and how we do things with ChatGPT, the differences in the categories of your accounts, and then, of course, hearing about Marty's new Mac Mini. Is there anything else you wanted to be sure and tell folks before we sign off for this time?
Yeah. If you want to reach out to us, you can definitely do that. You can go to the website, which is unmute.show. And you'll find all of our goings-ons there. If you want to reach out to us via email, if you have questions, comments, or anything else, feel free to email us at feedback@unmute.show. And I will say that we're kind of working on doing a little bit of rebranding. So if you're going to go to any podcatcher to find our podcasts, it's now under Unmute Podcast Network. And all of the shows in the Fire Hose are there. So if you wanted to still if you're already subscribed to the Fire Hose feed, which is just all of the things we do, and you'll get everything we distribute, put out, then you don't have to do anything. If you're not subscribed there yet, then you can subscribe there and get all of the shows that we do. And lastly, and more importantly, if you choose to only want to have one of the shows. So for example, let's say you wanted to subscribe to MacChat, but maybe not Digital Bytes, then all of the shows now are going to have their own feeds. So they're going to have their own feeds and their own personalities and be a little bit more independent of each other, but still be under the Unmute Podcast Network. So there you go.
Awesome. Well, Marty, I'm looking forward to chatting again next time, because maybe maybe the release of the Mac OS, operating system, the new one is coming out. Maybe that'll
Yeah,
be
they
out.
say next month, which would be September, and that's usually what they do. So we will see, and maybe they'll come out with some other new goodies also besides just the operating systems.
Yeah, welcome to Tahoe, right?
Yes, welcome to Tahoe.
All right. Well, thanks, Marty, for joining me for MacChat, and we'll catch you next time.
Yep, have a good one, and we'll see you next time.